This is the Dog Savant Podcast with your host, Brett Endies.
Hey everyone, this is Brett, and this is the Dog Savant Podcast, episode 20. And I have here a special guest, Miss Minnie, and we're going to talk today about small dogs, little dogs. Many of you know my dog Bowie, the big Rottweiler, but I also have Miss Minnie here. And, and I find that sometimes we relegate little dogs to acting a certain way or having certain behaviors that we wouldn't accept or tolerate in big dogs. And we think that it's just because they're little dogs by nature. That's why they act that way. And I want to just talk a little bit more about the psychology behind that kind of thinking, how that might not always be the case, and how in many instances these little dogs are a lot tougher, more tenacious, and have more of that drive to them than even the big guys, as far as they can thrive on structure and a good leadership role in their lives and not always being treated like a baby and carried around like I'm doing here with Miss Minnie, who I get away with it from time to time. But, ultimately, and I'll tell you her story when I first got her and what I had to do to make it where I could even hold her and she wouldn't be biting my face and having a tantrum over what she would perceive as control, because these little dogs are fun to carry and have affection with and kiss and love and do all the sweet stuff. But sometimes they see it psychologically like any other big dog would, so we have to tap into that instinct and do the right kind of communication. And so before we proceed, I wanted to get to the business at hand, as always, the podcast. Subscribe, review on iTunes, go on YouTube and subscribe to my channel, like it, share with your friends, apply this information to help your own dog. That's why I'm doing it, and the more people know about it, the more I can keep doing this. That's really what motivates me. I'm not getting paid for this. The sponsors are really just for you guys to entice you to want to, maybe listen here and help you guys out a little bit for being supporters of the show. So with that said, we have a sponsor, Wild Zora Foods. They are great paleo, healthy, freeze-dried meals and snacks, and they have drinks and teas, and they're really great. I use them. I've always been, a user of their products, and I reached out to them and said, hey, I use your stuff. Would you be interested in being a sponsor of the show? So they offer a 20% purchase off any purchase. Go on their website. I believe it's wildzorafoods.com, Wild Zora with a Z, Z-O-R-A, and you get 20% off if you type in the code The Dog Savant, THEDOGSAVANT. And support them as well. They're a great small company located out of Colorado. That's my second home. And I personally use their products. There's nothing that I will take on as a sponsor from this show, on the show, if I don't use it myself or believe in it. So if you are a potential sponsor, reach out to me, dogtrainingla@gmail.com, and we can talk about how you can be part of this as well. Just today, we're recording some episodes here while we have Jordan back here. So we're in a normal studio or our temporary studio till we have a permanent one built. And we're here. What was I? That's what I was trying to think of. Jordan, just tell me what I was just talking about.
We're here, and you did some Untrainable.
Oh, that's a yeah. So today, that's what I was talking about, is that you're going to hear me talk about how today, thank you, I got it now, is you're going to hear me talk about how today I did a live Q&A for the Untrainables. We're going to do more in the future, but some of these are relevant to today, the Thursday that I did them. It was great. So many of your questions. It was great. We tried to answer as many as we could. I've been answering some of them on the podcast. Maybe today, if we have some time, I'll get to another one or two at the end of this podcast as well. But keep them coming. Send those videos. Let me see what your dog's doing. I want to keep helping as many of you as possible. I might not be able to answer you directly, but send me the messages. I'm going to try to get around to them, or put up videos or anything that's going to relate to these issues. There's a common thing going on here where there's a disconnect between dogs and their owners, and I want to help reconnect this, because all of these dogs can be helped with a little bit of effort and understanding. So back to today's subject. We covered all the business. Yeah. So again, subscribe to this podcast. So important with this iTunes thing here. Otherwise, other people aren't going to find me. We're going to talk about little dogs, right? Little Minnie here. Mwah. And I love this little thing. I squeeze her. I hold her. I treat her so differently at times than I would treat my big dog, simply by the way she looks. She's a shaggy little, very, very much overdue for grooming little thing, right? I haven't talked to her that way. By the way, she'll get groomed when we're done with her home construction, because you're collecting dust like a dustpan, aren't you, little fuzzy face, like a hot mop, huh? Anyway, so I can act pathetic like that to her because I create structure. If she was to act out of control or there was any issues, and when I first got her, there was a lot of issues, it was going to be all business, or the business at hand gets dealt with before the affection happens. I mean, for example, she couldn't be in my bed when I first got her. Now we sleep every night. Sleep, snuggle, whatever we want to do, we do it together every night because we can have that kind of relationship because it's a balance. But when we walk, you best believe that she's at my side and she's not up in front of me. When I ask her to do a command, I follow through and make sure she does it. There is order. I tell her what happens or what doesn't. I don't let her pee all over the house because she's a little dog with a little bladder. I treat her like a big dog because psychologically she's a dog. Big or little, it doesn't matter. It's just the way they're wired with their instincts. And then the little dogs, yes, small. She's tinier, so I have to be careful. I have to make sure she doesn't get eaten by the coyotes compared to the big 125-pound. Okay, you want to go down? I'm going to put you down. Okay. What do you think, little cutie? All right, you go off. So, with that said, again, Minnie, if she's getting fresh, she's not getting held anymore. That's it. So that's the whole idea, is that I'm not going to give in because she's small. I'm still going to create rules, but of course, because she's little, there's certain accommodations just because of her size. But I don't change my thinking towards her when it comes time to training. I would approach it the same way. I would expect the same rules. I would not give in. And again, the things like the potty training where people say, oh, it's a little dog, they have a smaller bladder. She can learn to hold it just as much as any other dog because she's not drinking as much or eating as much as the big dog. So it's all relative to their intake and their size. So let's see. But I find, and this is what they say, well, aren't little dogs harder to train? Not necessarily, but sometimes people who get little dogs have a different state of mind as to why they're getting a dog of that stature than when you get a big kind of wolf-like dog. So that is another thing to consider. Sometimes people, they want to have that as their little baby and they want to, indulge in that. And there is a balance where you can find that place where you can do that and still have your dog be a happy, content dog without behavioral issues and not getting this, this over-sensationalized feeling about life because we're projecting so much of these, kind of nurturing emotions onto them when they need an undertone of leadership as well. So, a lot of times people who do that, they do that, call them the baby replacers, or you have empty nesters who had a kid, grew up now they're adults and they want to do it over again, but they want less commitment. The dog's good for that to a point. My daughter's a teenager now, and I love this little tiny little thing that I can carry around and, baby, look, you saw it, right? It's disgusting, but I do it. But I also know that she's a good example of what I preach and teach to my clients, and everyone else who I'm trying to help here with this message. So, as always, we have to take a rational approach to the dogs and be a little self-aware, even when we're doing our human thing and being, somewhat indulgent when it comes to giving into the feelings we have towards, what we want to project on our dogs. I'm not going to give specific training tips for little dogs because it all applies the same, but I just wanted to talk more psychologically about how we have such a thing about little dogs. And yes, I find that little dogs, like I said earlier, sometimes like this little Yorkie Minnie, her terrier instincts, she's a killer. She's a hunter. She'll be way more tenacious to shred something up. Or if she was to find a mouse outside, she would be way more of a killer than Bowie, who looks, to some people more mean or fierce, where he's like a big, gentle giant, right? So, it's just, and it's not because she has Napoleon syndrome. She's just wired to be that kind of dog. She's a vermin hunter. So that's, again, she looks cute. She looks like this little baby, but inside of her, something totally different. And sometimes we have to, when it comes down to brass tacks, see what's inside of the dog, not how they appear to us and make us feel. I mean, I don't know how many ways I can explain this, but that's really the theme of this in a nutshell. I'm trying to kind of extend it out so we're not doing like a 3-minute podcast, but in essence, right, it's just we see something different in little dogs, and as humans, it makes us act differently towards them or get drawn to them in different ways. And sometimes we make excuses or rationalize or see something different that would change our approach to training, behavior, modification or understandings, and just generally creating a more structured, well-led life for the dog like any other dog would need if they're imbalanced or are wired in a way that they would thrive on that. So, I try to really, at times I'm guilty of, just breaking this down about me. I'll over-articulate things. I'm pretty aware of myself too. But I'm just inside of me. I just want to explain this. And it's like to relate to how the dogs are seeing it is only going to make you realize what the right approach would be or how to see them more purely or more in that rational way. So, I think I didn't want to get too into that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about sometimes with the little dogs, we treat them differently. Minnie! Come here, Minnie. Come on, Minnie. Minnie, come here. Come here, Minnie. Minnie, where is she? I hear her. Where's the Minnie? Oh, she's over at you. All right, here she comes. There's Minnie. Thank you. Here she comes. I got a Minnie delivery. All right, Minnie. So there she is. And this is her little girl, right? She's cute. She makes us all want to make the high, happy voice when we see her. It's cute when she goes in the mic like this, right? All that good stuff. And she gets little kisses. Sweet, right? But if she started biting me or was fresh as you used to be so fresh when I got you, you're the freshest, right? Now you can be a good girl. Mwah. All right. So that's, again, my Little Dog Podcast. Not too much. Again, please review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go on to my social media. Usually it's going to be at the Dog Savant. My website is dogtrainingla.com. From there, you can get onto my YouTube channel, anything else, my videos. And watch the Untrainables every Saturday. It's on Facebook Watch on the Untrainables channel. And thank you so much. Train your dogs and keep sending your questions. Hold on. Time out. Let's do one question here since this is a short podcast. This is probably like 6 minutes. How long is this podcast, Joe?
9 minutes. I was going to say one question.
Let's do one question. Let's see. Bear with me because I'm going to go directly onto the Untrainables page here.
Maybe 2 questions, Brett?
I don't know, Jordan.
I'm pushing.
I've answered a lot of questions today. Let's see. So many questions. Okay, here's one from Paula. My dog barks and growls at other dogs, lunges to get them. He is a Chihuahua. I think it's actually a perfect question. I just randomly scrolled on that's the first one that came in the screen. Because you're probably treating the Chihuahua like a little dog, like I had said, and not creating the right structured walk. You may not be walking your dog with the right equipment, which we had talked about in one of the questions in the last episode of the podcast. We're walking on harnesses, a lot of the kind of more physical control devices instead of something that promotes focus and structure on a walk can lead to that quicker to react, kind of response. And the dog's relationship with the owner in general can make the dog feel that they have to protect the owner, not trust the security and the control of the leash so there's a lot that you'd probably want to adjust in your relationship without meeting the dog. Send in a video to supplement the question and I can give you a more detailed response. But usually these dogs are going to be better off being led through life, getting that leadership and the commands and the structure to promote focus in a filtered state. I always talk about ability to see things and not react to things, observe, not react. And then start reintegrating your dog around other dogs. Structured walks are great. Finding any kind of training class or pack walking group where the dogs are not playing in a free-for-all type of way. They're walking in a structured, more orderly way as a pack, if you will. We do it every Saturday morning here in Los Angeles in Griffith Park, and we could have 20 or more dogs, and they're all getting along. Where prior, to that, they could have had reactivity, but in a group, they act so differently because there's energy that promotes that ability to be synchronized with something greater than yourself, which pretty much takes you out of the game, and now your ego. In humans, this is the same thing. It becomes diminished and then you feel better. You just feel like you don't have to go there. And that's exactly what a dog relies on, even when it's the human and dog pack where it's just two parties, moving together. But even being around other dogs can help heal them and reintegrate them and re-socialize them and teach them to see dogs as something that, they want to be around, not an aversive. Okay, so I'll do one more.
Yeah.
All right. Hey. One of the questions I'll answer, I won't be specific. The comparing me to another well-known dog trainer, not that I'm that well-known, but another dog trainer. I respect that man. I've made reference to him many a time. I know of him personally through the grapevine of networks of people around here. Good person means well. He's a good dog trainer. I think his information is valid. We're two different people. I certainly don't want to be him. I respect what he does. I think you can tell we're completely two different personalities. I'm certainly not as sharp a dresser as him either. But nonetheless, I think we're coming from two necks of the woods promoting the same message in essence. I think we're seeing similar things, but being two different people, I think we can express in different ways. I think you can learn from a lot of different people. How about that? So I'll keep it simple and sweet. Oh, thank you. Oh, maybe you'll go through some of these. Let's go through some of these thank yous. I don't know if any of you who go on. See, the thing is, I don't know if any of you who are making the connection yet who go on the Untrainables know about my podcast, but I think you will soon. So let me, just some of you. Martha, hello from Alabama. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for watching the show. These are people who are watching the show, these questions here. I'll do one more potty training. Linda, 10-month-old female, still peeing on the floor even though you let her out frequently. The key is you're letting her out too frequently. You have to create some more structure. I did answer a question like this. It may have been you, so we'll reiterate this today. I answered so many questions. The dogs have to learn how to go on a schedule. Just rule out any kind of medical issues, any bladder issues. But if the dog is totally good to go, dogs should be going out at that age, probably at least every 4-6 hours, overnight, even a little longer. So I would recommend a crate or some kind of smaller space so the dog can learn to seize the opportunity outside, go more on command, reward that, and then when the dog's inside at certain points where you may be trying to catch it or letting the dog sneak off and have the accident, you now have the dog hold it for an additional hour or two, then take them out. And what they start learning is how to empty out when they have that window of opportunity initially and then hold it increasingly longer as their age and abilities develop. Get your arms around the potty training issue now. At 10 months old, your dog is going to need this refined ASAP. I mean, this is something that gets nasty as it gets older, and you get a dog that you can't trust from not peeing in the house because they learned. That's why I don't like wee-wee pads or dogs peeing anywhere indoors, even from 8 weeks old, because you don't want to develop that habit or being comfortable doing it on any front. You teach them to go outside and then hold it as their age and abilities increase. So work on that. There's a lot of good information on potty training, but usually it's a crate. Some people who do it like that, sometimes they're afraid of a crate. I've talked about that too, where if you introduce it properly and you give the dog the right amount of exercise and free time and attention, being in a crate from time to time, even just a little bit more than we like for the sake of potty training, is going to give them all that freedom, and their house will become that giant crate of life eventually down the road. But right now, sometimes they're going to thrive on that structure to teach them better habits, especially to stay clean indoors. Okay, so got some questions out there. Sometimes I get into it. I bang them out Gary Vee style, but I want to get to all of you guys, and I got in my head, oh boy, I got this list of people I want to help here. So let's do this. Keep listening to the podcast. Share, because that's how people are going to find this. Me, Jordan, he's a great video guy. He's my right-hand man in all this, but both of us are not good at getting our stuff noticed online unless other people tell other people. So do that for us. We love you. Keep watching this. Train your dogs. Have a great day.